G'day, it's Moose here from Regal Marine, showing you some of the advanced sonar settings on the GPS map 7.4 and 7.6 series from Garmin. Here we are on our sonar screen in chirp mode, right to left scrolling. So, in this one we're going to look at, the sonar setup, our appearance settings and how we can change the appearance of our sonar screen. So I click appearance and here are our options. Up the very top is color. Under the color we can change the color scheme or the palette of the sonar itself. Blue I have a personal preference to. I find that it shows up the light objects quite nicely and they don't get lost in the glare of, say, of white, for example. But there's quite a few to change from. Classic blue if you had one of the older Garmins and you want to go traditional. Maroon if you want to go more Simrady. Red-green if you want to go crazy. All the way down to your madness. Some of these are better in low light conditions, etc. But I'm going to stick with the good old fashioned blue. Color gain increases and decreases the color for the various gain settings. So the more sensitivity you have, the darker the object will become. So if I boost this up, you can see objects will appear denser per their actual density. This is kind of useful if you want to maximize those smaller objects you want to see on the screen, but we're going to leave it in default for this example. Overlay data allows us to change the amount of objects we see on the screen, so we can decrease the voltage, decrease water temperature, and decrease depth, speed for example. But depth's quite important to have. Water temperature is very important to have. Unit voltage I like just for paranoia's sake. And a clock, it's always handy to know the time. If I go back. Oscilloscope. This is handy if you want to know what the current return is at any particular one time. So seeing it under one peak, what's happening at any particular time is a handy way to see exactly when you go over an object. A lot of ice fishermen like this, obviously because they're not moving. It's more of a traditional sense. I'd say it's certainly on the way out, but it's there if you like to use it. Menu, back to sonar setup, appearance. Let's turn the oscilloscope back off again. Menu, sonar setup, appearance. Depth line. Depth line gives us a line that we can move up and down to give us our current depth. This is handy if you want to follow a particular thermic line or a fish column, for example. Just a nice little movable tool, I suppose. Edge. Edge places a hard white line on where it detects as the hardest return. This is a really useful tool for helping to distinguish what the bottom consistency is. So for example, this hard white line is just below the bottom and you can see there's a thin layer of red above it. This is a great way to determine if the bottom is, say, a compacted sand, shoal, rock, reef, etc. In this case, we can see that the sound is penetrating the bottom a few feet and then hitting the hardest point and then returning. So there's a layer of mud or sand just sitting above this hard surface. It's also a really nice way to find sand holes. If you're fishing for whiting, for example, you can see the hard layer will drop below this red layer to give us an idea that there is a hole underneath that sand. It's a very useful tool. Pick Advanced allows you to increase the stretches of the returns for particularly deep water situations. So in deep water where the sound takes quite a while to hit the bottom and then return, you can increase the amount of lines that it will draw per ping. So if I go 2 to 1, it's going to place 2 lines of drawing for every 1 ping return. So that just allows for a richer, crisper image when you're in deeper water, so that you're not having to wait for those sonar returns to come back to give you an image. It's really, really useful in deep water. 8 to 1 is obviously 8 times per 1 ping, which is very, very, very deep water. We're going to leave it on 1 to 1 to keep it original. So that's been a little look at the appearance settings and the advanced sonar options on the GPS map 7412. I've been Moose. Thanks very much for watching. We'll see you later.